Hey, wait, let me put something on really quick. This is supposed to be Wesley's mustache? All right, look. I was supposed to dress up like the Dread Pirate Roberts. This thing is covered in dog hair. This was my shirt, but it's really loud. Oh, actually, I guess I could put this on. Hold on. Here we go. This is a canon look from The Princess Bride. I'm Westley, and this is definitely what he would wear if he were out and about pirating. Before we get started, I wanted to give a big thank you to everyone who watched my previous video. It really means a lot, and it gave me some confidence to keep making videos. At least it gave me confidence to make this video. So if you do like this one, please. Oh man, this is falling. I'm gonna take this off actually. Okay, I'm back. Felt awkward with just the hoodie and the mustache, so I went and put some concealer back on. Sorry. And now I'm just wearing one glove. I don't know. Am I MJ? I kind of like it though. Well, we'll keep the glove on. At least I'm part Westley, all right? I wanted to say thank you for watching my last video. I really appreciate it, and it gave me confidence to make this one. So if you like this one, maybe I'll make the next one. Today's video will be the continuation of our characters and what they did with their loneliness. We left off saying that they repeatedly tried to fix their loneliness through really bad coping skills. We saw people be dependent on other people, we saw substance abuse, and we saw sacrificing yourself only to be successful, but not in like for the greater good, just in order to be seen. Well, to answer the question of what did they do with their loneliness, we actually need to focus on one of those characters, Westley. Like the title of this video implies, what is Wesley's true purpose for the story, and how did he affect our other characters? The who, what, when, where, why, and how of it all. If this topic interests you, please stick around. If it doesn't, please stick around. Disclaimer time! This is the part of the video where I go on for about a minute making disclaimers so you guys don't say anything in the comments. I'm pre-answering all those questions you might have. Disclaimer 1. If you haven't read or watched The Princess Bride, this video will have some... Actually, this video is just a spoiler. This whole it's just spoilers. So you're on your own. Disclaimer 2. All resources and reference material that I use will be linked in the description below, and I will put it on screen so you can see where I'm getting all my tea, sis. Disclaimer 3, but also a public service announcement. I don't use AI personally, and someone made a comment, are you using AI to edit your videos? No, I don't. I don't use AI for researching, writing, video editing, even photo editing. Like, I could use filters and I could look a whole lot better. I could have it write my essay. I could maybe organize my arguments in a better way, but I would rather use my brain and get better and better every time doing that. You're just cheating yourself if you are using AI. And also, if you're using AI to create content, especially on this platform, you're just adding to the slop that we just don't need. And unlike certain CEOs of a certain platform, we don't need AI, and it doesn't enable creators to create content that they normally wouldn't be able to create because everyone's just going to be generating whatever it is to get views. Like, it is not bringing back this platform to what it once was. You should be able to create things on your own because remember, creativity should come from humans because AI just steals things and remixes it for you. And scene. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Disclaimer portion of our video is done. Now back to our topic. Without Westley, both fictional worlds in The Princess Bride would be doomed. It would be over. The prince would win, we'd have 2 nations at war, we'd have 2 divorces. Well, actually, we already have a divorce happening if you're reading into the meta storyline of it all, but we're not mentioning that today, okay? I really don't like the meta storyline. It's not for me, all right? My point is that our story would be a tragedy, not a comedy that it is. Our romantasy would be a bleak telling of just woe and loss and loss and loss. And that is why Westley is so important. In my last video, I mentioned that Westley experiences loneliness, just like with Inigo and Fezzik. But what did he do with it? And how did he do it? He became a hero. That's right. He saved everyone from their destruction, doom, death. Ooh, I like that alliteration. And how did he do this? By making them lose. That's right. They all took the L so they could take the W later on. I don't like that. Only by their failure were they able to overcome and come out on top. And I think Westley brought that out in them.
Whoa. I know what y'all are thinking. I just said Westley was a hero, but he made people lose. And isn't that hurting someone? You're right, that is a baddie move. I agree. But my question is, does that make him any less of a hero? Does the positive effect he has on others override his initial actions? Sure, he hurts Buttercup, but not on purpose. It's not his fault he gets captured by the dread pirate Roberts. But what about Inigo and Fezzik? He purposefully duels them and wins. Does it matter that he does it with respect? Is there a ratio of good to bad that a hero needs to maintain in order to be labeled as a hero? When I started this video, I was like, oh, simple. Westley saved everyone. He's the perfect example of the hero archetype. But is he? Is he actually just motivated to get back to Buttercup and it's just he accidentally helps other people along the way? Doesn't that sound like an anti-hero? But before we get into that, let's get into what a hero is, a hero's journey, and the effect Westley has on Buttercup, Inigo, and Fezzik.
I did some research on what heroes are and how they have to go through a hero's journey to become a hero, much like Hercules, who went from zero to hero, just like that. I never looked into this archetype, but I ended up finding it really interesting. Remember, I'm new to reading in general. Let's talk about a hero. In Medium, I read this. What is a hero? Joseph Campbell says, a hero is someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than oneself. The hero's journey symbolizes the universal path to finding one true's nature and purpose. Societies need heroes to represent these archetypal journeys and to inspire individuals to take their own. So why do we write about heroes? Philip Zimbardo says, heroes guide us not by their supernatural powers, but by their moral courage and their ability to change the world for the better. Heroes inspire us by their willingness to persist despite potential risks and costs. They embody the qualities we admire and they push us to better versions of ourselves. All right, that's good and all, but what is this hero's journey? Well, heroes have to go on this journey, and there's a lot that actually goes on with it. I read about the different parts from Berkeley. So let's go through the different steps of a hero's journey. Fabulous circumstances surrounding conception, birth, and childhood establish the hero's pedigree and often constitute their own monomyth cycle. Westley actually isn't given a birthplace. We don't know anything about him other than he's an orphan and he comes to Buttercup's farm to be a farm boy, which is kind of fabulous, the mystery of it all. Call to adventure. The hero was called to adventure by some external event or messenger. The hero may accept the call willingly or reluctantly. So after Buttercup admits her feelings for him, Westley decides to go on an adventure to become rich, and so he can come back and take care of her. Helper's amulet. During the early stages of the journey, the hero will often receive aid from a protective figure. The supernatural helper can take a wide variety of forms, such as a wizard, an old man, a dwarf, a crone, or a fairy godmother. The helper commonly gives the hero a protective amulet or weapon for the journey. So this one was interesting because he isn't given anything physical to help him on his journey. His mentor is also the current Dread Pirate Roberts, but I do think that him inheriting the title of Dread Pirate Roberts count as an amulet. Crossing the threshold. Upon reaching the threshold of adventure, the hero must undergo some sort of ordeal in order to pass from the everyday world into the world of adventure. This trial may be as painless as entering a dark cave or as violent as being swallowed up by a whale. The important feature is the contrast between the familiar world of light and the dark, unknown world of adventure. He must sail really fast to catch up with our gang. He has to climb the cliffs of insanity. He has to fight Inigo, fight Fezzik, and then fight Vicini. Test. The hero travels through the dreamlike world of adventure where he must undergo a series of tests. These trials are often violent encounters with monsters, sorcerers, warriors, or forces of nature. Each successful test further proves the hero's ability and advances the journey towards its climax. He goes through the fire swamp. He must survive and protect Buttercup from the flame spurts, the lightning sand, and rodents of unusual size. Helpers. The hero is often accompanied on the journey by a helper who assists in the series of tests and generally serves as a loyal companion. Alternatively, the hero may encounter a supernatural helper in the world of adventure who fulfills this function. I think this is Inigo and Fezzik, as they help take him from mostly dead to alive, and also Max the medicine man, who is the one actually doing the magic. And of course his wife, who is not a witch. She is his wife. Climax, the final battle. This is the critical moment in the hero's journey in which there's often a final battle with a monster, wizard, or warrior, which facilitates the particular resolution of the adventure. The face-off with the prince, his bluffing battle. Flight. After accomplishing the mission, the hero must return to the threshold of adventure and prepare for a return to the everyday world. If the hero has angered the opposing forces by stealing the elixir or killing a powerful monster, the return may take the form of a hasty flight. If the hero has given the elixir freely, the flight may be a benign stage of the journey. Fezzik gets the prince's 4 horses, while Westley pushes everyone out of the window. Return. The hero again crosses the threshold of adventure and returns to the everyday world of daylight. The return usually takes the form of an awakening, rebirth, resurrection, or a simple emergence from a cave or forest. Sometimes the hero is pulled out of the adventure world by a force from the daylight world. Westley, Buttercup, Inigo, and Fezzik run away and are safe from the prince. Elixir. The object, knowledge, or blessing that the hero acquired during the adventure is now put to use in the everyday world. Often, it has a restorative or healing function, but it also serves to define the hero's role in the society. Westley and Buttercup's love, I think, and they also start a family. Home. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on his fellow man. In the movie, as they're escaping, Westley tells Inigo that he would make a good Dread Pirate Roberts and it could be a fresh start for him, which is something that helped Westley on his journey. So I think it would also help Inigo too. And Fezzik is also a part of Westley and Buttercup's life. Now that we're done with Westley, let's go in and talk about the 3 characters that Westley saves and one that he doesn't. Let's start with Buttercup. I'd call her our protagonist. I mean, the whole book and the first chapter are named after her. Also note that she's a lot funnier in the book. In fact, hot take, the Princess Bride book is funnier than the movie. I'm 10 toes down on this. You should really read the book. It isn't that long of a book. You can finish it in a day or 2. It's a given that Westley saves her from death multiple times. He saves her from the kidnapping, namely Vicini, from the fire swamp, and then the prince. However, I would argue that Westley saves Buttercup from herself. Buttercup tends to be her own worst enemy. She just can't stop herself. Once she thinks Westley died, she's like, oh, I can live without love. And then she gets herself into the whole prince thing. And then after she loses Westley post Fire Swamp, she's like, no, I can still live without love. And then she's like, wait, no, I can't, because now I have to face the consequences of marrying the prince. And that's when she learns. This time, she believes he will come to rescue her. It doesn't matter whether you sent the ships or not. Westley will come for me. There is a God, I know that. And there is love, I know that too. So Westley will save me. When it seems like it's a little too late, we finally see Buttercup's desperation. By 5:48, Buttercup felt quite sure she would be dead. It was still a minute before that as she stood staring at the prince's knives. The most lethal looked to be the one most used, the Florinese dagger. Pointed at one end, it entered easily, growing into a triangular shape by the hilt. For quicker bleeding, it was said. They were made in varying sizes, and the prince's looked to be one of the largest, being wrist thick where it joined the handle. She pulled it from the wall, put it to her heart. This is really, really, really important. In that moment, she realized that love is worth dying for. Now let's get into Inigo. Moving on to Inigo. So in my previous video, I gave a recap of his life. We talked about him being lonely and what he did with that loneliness. So let's talk about after he met Westley. The loneliness he felt from having an unhealthy relationship with his dad and then Vicini. He also felt loneliness from no competition. He spent so long trying to be the best sword fighter, and then after that, anytime he wanted to battle, to duel someone, it was just all for naught. He had to impose a handicap in order for it to be interesting. He was experiencing loneliness on multiple fronts. But after he met Westley, he was finally able to have a duel with someone who was just as good as he was. I'm not left-handed, Inigo replied. And with those words, he all but threw the six-fingered sword into his right hand, and the tide of the battle turned. He then let go of his dependence on Vicini. His goal to finding the Count was reignited. He decides to go and find Westley, discovers his body, but he doesn't lose hope. I am Inigo Montoya, the son of Domingo Montoya, and I do not accept it. He sprang to his feet, started up the underground stairs, stopping only long enough to snap commands. Come along, bring the body. Then he finds the Count. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Defeats the Count, and finally finds a family in Westley, Buttercup, and Fezzik, a healthy family. Let's move on to Fezzik. Like with Inigo, we discussed why he was lonely and his attempts to solve his loneliness. So let's look at what happened after he met Westley. He's respected for the first time, and he's able to have a fair fight. If you'd rather, I can kill you now, Fezzik said gently, and he raised the rock to throw. I'm giving you a chance. So you are, and I accept it, said the man in black, and he began to take off his sword and scabbard. Although, frankly, I think the odds are slightly in your favor at hand fighting. I'll tell you what I tell everybody, Fezzik explained. I cannot help being the biggest and strongest. It's not my fault. Well, I'm not blaming you, said the man in black. Let's get to it then, Fezzik said, and he dropped his rock and got into fighting position, watching as the man in black slowly moved towards him. For a moment, Fezzik felt almost wistful. This was clearly a good fellow, even if he had killed Inigo. He didn't complain or try and beg or bribe. He just accepted his fate. No complaining. Nothing like that. Remember, anytime he would fight somebody, size was always the reason why it wasn't a fair fight. And anytime he did win, it didn't matter. So with Westley, they actually were on the same playing field. He also let go of his dependence on Vicini. He goes through the zoo of death to get to Westley. His confidence builds, and he's able to start thinking critically and isn't reprimanded for it. He's finally able to do something other than being a robber. He actually accomplishes a good deed, saving Buttercup and saving his new friends. He also decides who his people are. He doesn't just default to his parents, the circus, or Vicini. The quality of the people matter now, not just who's around him. I mentioned there was one character who did lose to Westley, who was not saved, and that is, no surprise, Vicini. When Westley defeats Inigo and Fezzik, and he walks upon Vicini, Vicini's just like, oh, so you defeated the people before me, but they were easy. You're not going to defeat me. And this is when Wesley's like, oh, I'm disrespected. This isn't going to be a fair fight, like with Inigo and Fezzik, because he's already immune to the poison that he uses. So when he puts in the poison, he puts it into both cups because he's like, well, you're not gonna give me a fair fight, are you? It's the best scene ever because the whole point is that Vicini isn't as smart as what he says he is. And so it's just cinema. He died what he loved doing, being an. So what have we learned today? That Westley saves all the characters by having them lose. Buttercup loses Westley twice. Inigo loses his first duel sword fighting, and Fezzik loses his first wrestling match. Buttercup learns that love is worth dying for. Inigo is finally able to use his sword fighting skills at the highest level and able to defeat his greatest enemy, the Count. And Fezzik is finally able to get a fair fight and his skills be recognized for what they are. He's also given the opportunity to use his brain for the first time.
Okay, so Westley does seem to be a hero. He went through a journey, and he did end up helping others. But I did promise we'd get back to the topic of anti-heroes. An anti-hero is said to be a protagonist or notable figure who is conspicuously lacking in heroic qualities. I also read someone's response of what an anti-hero is on Quora. My take is the difference lies in a hero's unwillingness to harm innocents that stand between him and his objective. An anti-hero believes their objective will make the whole world better, therefore they're saving the world if they achieve their objective, no matter the collateral damage of achieving it. The hero wants to save the whole world too, but they're more literal and one-on-one about it. In general, the hero will delay their final objective to try to secure the well-being of everyone they encounter on the way. I can't stop thinking about Westley's motivations. He goes on a journey to get rich so he can come back to Buttercup and they can start their life together. Through circumstances, he becomes a pirate. Now, pirates typically aren't heroes. They are known for killing others to take their ships and booty. They are motivated by greed. They are selfish. Now, Westley became a pirate. I would say he willingly chose that life, and he says it himself. He is quite good at it. Because a part of me just thinks once he does become the Dread Pirate Roberts, how much time passed between him and coming to look for Buttercup? Because it seems to me that he doesn't come get Buttercup until it's announced that she's going to marry the prince. Then he starts to fight for her. Westley didn't kill Inigo and Fezzik, but he did kill Vicini. No matter how much I hate Vicini, Westley still did. You might say, well, Vicini wasn't a great guy. He was awful, rude, and exploited Inigo and Fezzik. He hurt others for money and is clearly a villain. He deserved to die. My answer to that is, well, the prince is also a horrible person, and Westley didn't kill him. The prince disrespects Westley, just like Vicini, but guess what? Westley only killed Vicini and not the prince. Now, I think the difference here is that Vicini stood between him and Buttercup. But with the prince, Westley already saved Buttercup, and the prince is, defeated right away when Wesley's bluff pays off and they tie him to the chair. There wasn't a need to kill him. What about Westley helping Inigo to kill the six-fingered man? Isn't that a good deed? Yeah, but remember, Westley is brought back to life in order to help Inigo. And Westley does, but still with the ultimate goal of saving his princess bride. Would Westley have helped Inigo if he never died in the first place? Was helping Inigo, and also Fezzik, just a side effect, a bonus of achieving his goal? I'm not so sure. I'm personally not convinced. I really want Westley to be our traditional hero. I do, just like how I want the Princess Bride to be our stereotypical fantasy. I wish it were that simple. I'd like to believe that good truly conquered evil, but alas. Now, is it important that Westley is classified as a hero and anti-hero? Is the difference that important? Well, maybe. You can take a look at it and say, well, the means justified the ends. Look, Westley still helped others, even though he was selfish. But I think knowing the difference allows us to have a nuanced take on good versus evil. There is more gray than we'd like, because having a rigid moral code makes it so easy for us to identify with one group or the other, and makes us feel like we're better than the other group. If we believe we are right, then maybe any action we do is ultimately forgiven, regardless of how horrible that action is. I don't personally believe that. I think your actions always have consequences, regardless of your intentions. If you are hurting someone and helping someone else, that doesn't mean your balance is zero. Westley did great deeds, yes, but that doesn't make him a hero.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a like. And please subscribe if you haven't so you can see more videos like this. I said in my comments in the last video that I'm going to try to get weekly videos out for y'all. So it's my New Year's resolution to get them out on Mondays. I'll see you in the next video, y'all. Bye.